Previously on the Vocal Minority.
Are you part of the silent majority, or are you part of the vocal minority?
Let's go. Attention, please.
If America can be saved, and I don't know if it's too late, but it'll be through a radio show like this new kind.
This shit here feels like the whole entire world collapse. The revolution will not be televised, The revolution will be no rerun, brothers.
It's the vocal minority.
Hey, what's good? It's your boy MC. Welcome to, almost another episode of the Vocal Minority Report. Could have downloaded any podcast in the world, but you're here with me. I appreciate it. This is going to be a short one. This is just, we're waiting on season 2. Season 2 will be out this month. Don't worry. I know it's been a long time. Shouldn't have left you without some dope shit to listen to, but your boy is back. The show is back. In the meantime, though, I thought I would do a series of maybe shorter shows, just kind of giving my thoughts on things from the vocal minority perspective. And truth be told, we're still editing and working on some guests for season 2. But season 2 is going to consist of some new things, some different things. Not every episode will be with a guest. Some will be storytelling. Some will be just me running off at the mouth and giving my thoughts on certain topics. So that's what we're going to be getting into. But for now, I thought it is important, maybe more so for me than you guys, but to provide an update. It's been since last July that we put out an episode with Dr. Darnell Hunt from UCLA. And I think that was a really rich conversation. You should check that out. Actually, you should check out all the previous episodes. You can find them on thevocalminorityreport.com. We're on Spotify now, so if you got an Android or you're one of these young people out here, go ahead and check us out there. I don't even have Spotify on my phone, but I know we're there. So that's pretty dope. Obviously, Apple Podcasts, everywhere you get your podcasts. Make sure you subscribe because new episodes, consistent episodes will be back. I think we'll be on a schedule of about 6 a month. And that'll mean some weeks we'll have just 1, some weeks we'll have 2 episodes, but I think you'll dig what we're going to be putting out. But in the meantime, like I said, what I wanted to do was kind of give an update and some background. Because one thing I realized that when I started putting the show out, there was never really any background or intro about who I am and what the show is about. And I think over the course of time, if you listen to 53 guests, I believe me talking to 53 guests, and overall I think there's about 70 or so episodes, give or take. So hopefully you've gotten to capture who I am, what I'm about, what I like, and why the show is important and what we do. But I think the time off that I've had and given myself, and a lot of it's been extended because really I had planned to bring the show back in October because that's really the kind of born on date of the show, even though we didn't actually put out an episode. I think the first episode was December 2015. Let's take a quick break. I'll give you guys a little history and then we'll talk about what's to come. And yeah, let's do that. It took me a while to realize I was running a small business. Some of the decisions I had to make about building a website, defining a social strategy, and marketing seemed so daunting. I really had no idea where to start. Luckily, if you're a real estate agent, mortgage banker, or broker, we've got a new sponsor with solutions to help you get started or update your current site or strategy. LenderConsultants.com provides a suite of powerful solutions for you to better connect with prospects and expand your brand. And if you're like me and you love a hookup, just for my listeners, I've got a deal for you. You can save 20% off their custom solutions by using the code NEWYEAR. Just go to LenderConsultants.com and use the code NEWYEAR for your 20% savings. Welcome back. Okay, so we left off with me saying that I needed to talk about some history of the show and what the show is about, right? So here it is. I've been trying to think about this and actually I'm kind of regretting going down this road, not for any particular reason. I mean, there's nothing real, there's no like real cool or funny or embarrassing story. It's just really a matter of, I wonder if anybody really cares, or if this is just a matter of self-indulgence for me to tell the history of the show, and because it's not like a storied one or anything super fascinating, but maybe it's important or interesting. So this initially came from me listening to two white guys do what I thought was a really good show. It's a show called It's Just Banter, and what they did was usually pick a topic from, I won't say obscure magazine, but it was, but it would be something that like something from the Atlantic or some interesting documentary or some essay or something. They would break down a topic, and they had these interesting point of views, but it would be about topics, things I had never heard of or would never think about. And they hipped me to a lot of stuff. I learned a lot about how young kind of millennial or post-millennial white guys think and talk and conduct themselves and interact with the black community, and also learn just some interesting stuff from some guys who are good communicators and pretty interesting people. So I used to listen to their show a lot, and as is a lot of things in media, when you watch and consume, it's like, man, I really like this, I enjoy this. I wonder if my people really get down on this too. And I'm like, but this could also be, I wonder if, but if this had black people in it, or like one black person, or if black people were having the same conversation, what would it sound like? So I decided, at that point, you know what, I can do this. I want to have the exact same show where I talk about my life, interact with someone, with a friend of mine, or kind of really get into exploring who we are and creating engaging content that also inform people and wasn't just some cookie cutter, your regular radio show or even talk show or even podcast. So that kind of got me in the mindset of, hey, this is what I want to do. And, from that point, everybody's got a story about how they start and set up. So, but that was like way back in 2013, and I only really know that because I found my initial show notes from when I was outlining it, and it was October 2013. So I kind of feel like that's the real born on date of the show, even though I didn't put out an episode until December of 2015, like I mentioned. And that was a completely different show back then. I had a co-host, Steph, and Miss Steph, and I wanted to do a show where I played a lot of audio, and we dove in on a couple topics, and we talked about interesting stuff, kind of newsy. That was the point, and I think we did a good job. Initially, it took a minute to get her kind of up to speed and get her to bring out her personality. But I think I kind of was able to achieve that. But I got to play audio. We broke down some very interesting topics, and it was a good functional show for a beginning podcast. And then it got to the point where our schedules kept not matching up, and I realized it's not a priority for her. She didn't really care about the show per se, unless we were going to be super famous real instantly, or her people would be into it. And if you ever heard any of those episodes, you can tell that we're kind of a bit different, even though we're very similar. She's, I guess you would say, a more hood white girl. And some people thought it was interesting that I would have a white co-host, but I feel like I knew what I was doing because I was looking for a certain type of dynamic to be able to interact with. And also I thought she had an interesting following that I could be able to leverage too. So it made sense that, I could appeal to a more hood crowd than myself, you know what I'm saying? But hopefully somebody will get what I'm talking about here. So, see, this is why I didn't want to do this. I feel like this is just a self-indulgent run down memory lane for me. But moving on. So she basically was like, fuck you, nigga. I ain't trying to do this no more. Ain't nobody listening. And she didn't really say those words, but it pretty much came out that way. I was like, cool. And, I guess I'm kind of leaving out the beginning. My co-host was going to be my man that helped me with the music on a lot of these episodes, especially at the beginning. Cat named Shot Right. childhood friend of mine. So when I used to talk to him back in 2013, he was in a place down in Florida. He needed to make a change. And I was in a place where, you know, I don't know if I was, how old was I in 2013? I don't know. I guess I was like 31. So I just wanted to, my life was just, you know, I was looking for something. I needed to do this show and get out my voice, right? So anyway, so Shy Wright and I got together, but same kind of thing, you know, where it's when it's your baby and it's just not a priority for other people, you know, it's hard to make something work, right? So, or it can be, or maybe I'm just difficult to work with. I don't know. But, so anyway, so I was saying that Steph told me, you know, hey, your show sucks. Nobody's listening. So I was like, cool. Well, I don't want to just talk to myself. That never seemed like a good idea, which you guys will have to let me know as I explore this a little bit. So never want to just talk to myself. So I was like, you know what? I have to get some guests, because I was listening to a lot of a lot of podcasts that had guests. I listened to almost every Marc Maron episode of WTF. I listened to Aisha Tyler. I listen to all kinds of people interview people, and I don't think Aisha Tyler is like a great interviewer, but I do like her a lot. But I listen to Rogan. I listen to so many people interview people, especially in the long form format. I mean, that's really all I did. I work from home, so I would just have the headphones on and just be and spend most of my time listening to interview podcasts. Some good, some bad. Some started out good, and then I realized that they're not that good. You know, some people only know how to connect one way, and so I was trying to figure out, you know, hey, you know, I can do that. And then I figured it couldn't be that hard to book guests. One of the radio shows I listen to, they got a thing where they book guests, have a competition. So I've listened over the years about how they do that. So I kind of figured out my style for booking guests, and then boom, book guests. Had on some really interesting people. I mean, there's so many people that I've talked to. It's crazy when I think about it, just because I'll be listening to the radio or watching TV and I'll be like, man, I talked to him. You know, I got his number in my phone. Or I think, well, you know, I could get him. I could get her. That's how I feel about it, right? So I really, really enjoy engaging and talking to people. Check out some of those if you get the chance. Or you can just ignore all those and wait for the new ones, and then, you know, at some point go back to the others, because we're going to have all kinds of good guests on there. So fast forward, we get to the point where the show has some good growth and some exposure, and then I get some opportunities to go meet some people, go to a film festival, get to interview some really cool people, interact and be involved and asked to produce a celebrities podcast and to do a whole lot of stuff. And then I decided that, hey, we're going to start a business and a partnership with some really cool people that I met. And so this time last year, you know, all of the time was spent working on that partnership and that business and legal documents and all kinds of stuff. So that we kind of got to that point. So the show, while extremely important, and, you know, I got a full-time job, 2 kids. I got to book guests. I got to write questions. I got to research. You know, I've got to promote too. That's one thing, you know, advertisement, you know, and trying to keep a woman too, you know, which has not worked. So anyway, that's going to be another episode. So, but with all of that, you know, the show, so the number of episodes would drop off because I thought, for the greater good, I'm working on these other dynamic things that will only help with the exposure of the show. So then, long story shorter, those partnerships kind of fizzled, and there was some conflict in the partnership, and there was a kind of drop dead call. And from that moment, you know, everything kind of just shut down. And then I had to refocus on, well, hey, can I continue with these ideas we had on my own? Is this a real thing? Is this separation real? And then obviously, how do I get the show going like it needs to go? So, you know, and then, so we experiment with a couple of things. You know, I had the Negro News Minute, which I think is really cool. And that's really the most feedback the the shows have gotten outside of some select episodes, about true crime, really. Those shows get talked about, but the Negro News Minute, folks seem to like the stories, seem to like that. So at some point, we want to try to incorporate that again in some form or fashion. But the time it takes for the news and the guests and the other things, and then I jumped into a management role, which again, this is way more info than I'm sure anybody cares about. But I thought that, hey, I could work this managerial position, make some more money, and see if I can do something interesting in another realm. And, my heart is in this show. So I knew that I could not give my 100% to making the show happen with the dedication and time it takes, because I don't want it to be just a show where I'm just talking off the cuff to someone, even though I kind of want it to have that kind of effect and appeal. But, this needs to be a show where I know what I'm talking about and I can engage the guest on many levels. My attitude is, I want to make them, if I can make you cry, if I can make you laugh, if I can make you cuss, that's a good interview to me. I want enough depth where, we going through this whole roller coaster and the audience is highly entertained and I learn a lot, right? Because that's what this is, right? This is so I can explore interesting things with people that I think are interesting that you just can't do on a normal basis. So that's what this show will continue to be. And the aspect of storytelling and really engaging, that's what we're talking about here. So there's going to be more storytelling. We are going to spend time talking about some actual true crime cases. We're going to spend some time talking about actual news as well. And then we're going to still have on varied guests to get into this thing that is this world that we live in. So with that, I will shut this one down. Like I said, this is just some background and an update. I hope this was somewhat interesting and that you'll want to stay tuned for everything happening in what I guess is season 2. I don't know if we'll call it season 2. Maybe we'll just pick it back up. But so look out for new episodes, and there'll be a preview episode before the actual season 2 show. So look out for that. Check out the vocalminorityReport.com. It's going to be updated a little better. But if you're looking for previous podcast episodes, they're all there. Apple Podcasts, Stitcher. Do people still say Stitcher? Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Anywhere, everywhere you get podcasts, we should be there. If I'm not there, let your boy know, and I'll make sure we get down. As always, I appreciate it. Thanks for listening. It's your boy MC, host, executive producer. We'll holla at you in a couple weeks. All power to the people. Peace.